This is the original eSport racing game. This is iRacing.
The holidays are a time for many to take a little break. They're a time to relax and treat yourself. But it's also a time for charity, a time for caring for others. Hence why, though the 2019 season is over for the majors, they gather one last time to raise some money for those in need. And of course, to try to beat one another on track. We'll see who gets bragging rights over the winter as we get ready to watch the Majors Champions Charity Finale, and you'll see it all live here on the Global Sim Racing channel. Hi, I'm Joe Peak, and with me in the booth is Christian Challoner. Behind the scenes is our director, the Dr. Amjad Yaman, and he's using cameras provided by Dougie Beard. We have 3 different circuits that our drivers will face off at for this special event, but to kick things off, let's take a closer look at the first of the trio, Road America. Welcome to Road America. Nicknamed America's National Park of Speed, it's easy to see why just by looking at how the track is laid out. Long straights are a major feature, and drivers will build up incredible momentum before they find themselves interrupted by tight 90-degree corners. In fact, for a 4-mile circuit, it has shockingly few turns. It also has little in the way of variation in layouts. The main course is only broken up once with a single chicane added in the bend version. But don't take this to mean that it's a boring track. Elevation change happens many times over a lap, with a few places taking you into corners which are quite blind. But 2 of the turns on the back half of the course are perhaps the most distinctive. One is the carousel with its more than 180-degree radius. It just feels like it never stops. The other is the kink. Terrifyingly fast with very little runoff, it can end someone's race in a flash. As you'd expect, the heavy braking zones make for some ideal overtaking spots. Turn 5 sees plenty with its downhill entry. The hurried downs can offer drivers a chance at a sneak attack if you're brave, and then Canada Corner gives you one last shot before the lap is over. It's no wonder major organizations such as IMSA, IndyCar, NASCAR, and the SCCA all host major races here. All in all, many drivers rate this track as the best track in North America. Many who hop in the seat and try it can quickly understand why. A lot of these shots really show you how pretty it is around certain parts of this track with all the foliage there, but let's get a little bit more in depth about what exactly this means for these cars that they're racing here. It's a 14-turn road course at about 4 miles, which means the lap times are pretty long, over 2 minutes for these Xfinity cars. And really, the big thing about them is that they're stock cars. They're not usually made for racing on road courses, so they'll be fast in a straight line, but they'll be very difficult to handle in the corners. And it's hot conditions today, so expect the drivers to be struggling a bit here in the first of these 3 races. And in fact, we've got a few details concerning today's race, so let's give you the rundown of the first of those 3. As I mentioned, the Xfinity stock cars. This is actually the old ones. They don't have the newest ones out here today to give people a chance, since I believe those were archived. It is a fixed setup, though, so the drivers don't need to worry about trying to find speed with that. They're just out here for mostly fun with one another and as well to raise that money. Now, we do need to note this. The top 25 of the finishers will advance to the semifinals, which is the next race at Iowa, which will be in the IR18. We have 27 drivers who've signed up so far. Unfortunately, that means 2 of them, and only 2, will go home after this race. It'll be a little bit disappointing, but it still should be fun to watch, especially at the back of the field, to see who is trying hard not to be eliminated here in this race. They do have a fast repair, so if they do run into trouble, they can hop in and get back out and try their best to get out of those bottom 2. However, unfortunately, no pit stops expected in this 25-minute race. You'll probably be set far behind by having to come in and take that free repair. Drivers, of course, out here during warm-up, and there will be no qualifying that we should note. These final 5 minutes will have nothing to do other than getting the drivers used to the track. They will set the grid order according to their points earned during the regular season of the majors in 2019. And from what we're seeing, that should mean that Matthew Thunhorst will be our pole sitter here today. We'll go through the full grid a little bit later. You can see, though, because it is the majors and all of the majors, we have drivers from all over, hailing from the Atlantic. You saw one from the Central Eastern Europe, Uldis, of course, and the 666 car hailing from there. We've actually got a lot of Australian drivers who've managed to make it out tonight, as it's morning for them instead of night for us. Cameron Dance, famously one of them, who really did a fantastic job over the international split. Of course, Daniel Stevens, another one of our Australian drivers out here. And we've got about 7 of them, from what we understand, that are coming in from way down under to try and compete. And a few of the Europeans are going to give it a try. Markus Niskanen, the Finn, is going to attempt to try and do this late at night, way late at night. Thomas Peterson from the Scandinavia Club also going to try his hand at some very late night racing. I've actually been told by one of my Finnish friends that works here at GSRC that up in the far north of Europe, they really don't have any sort of sleep schedule because the sun is mostly down during the winter up there. So I guess that sort of helps them adjust to trying to tackle this. You can see everybody trying to get as much work as they can in. If we can take a glance at the temperature real quick, I mentioned that it's kind of hot out there on the surface. It's cooled down since I last looked in the warm-up, from 114 degrees down to 112 degrees Fahrenheit with very little wind playing. It's a cool 76 degrees air temperature as the number 7 of Thomas Peterson unfortunately spins it out into the Hurry Downs. So even though the air temperature is cool, the track is slick, which is already tough enough with these cars that have a lot of weight and a lot of power and very little tire to try and give them grip on the track. Dean Mole as well, coming around down through the moraine sweep as he continues to try and set times. For those who actually give any sort of credence to the warm-up times, Lionel Callisto currently heads that. And about by a little over a tenth over Kevin Hill currently, which is interesting in itself that Kevin Hill is this far up, because I guess Kevin doesn't do a whole lot of Official Racing, he's the only driver that is below a B-class license here on the roadside. He has a D-class license that he is racing, but clearly has the speed regardless of it. So the number 52 will be one to watch out for. And don't count out those European drivers. Uldis Putakkilis sitting in third on the timing sheets. Of course, usually those over across the pond known for being pretty quick and pretty savvy at the road course stuff, no matter if you've got them in an American stock car or not. See him taking his way through the kink and down through the kettle bottoms as well. Have a thought for Josh Wolf. He's currently sitting 6th and is faring pretty well, but the number 48 has been out running for a number of hours over at Laguna Seca. If you were watching our coverage just before this for the DGFX series, obviously he's put a lot of laps in that LMP2 car. So the Midwest driver could be a little bit tired, but seems to have boundless energy. I wish I was that young still and was able to compete at that level. So we watch Travis Warling now under the Speedville Bridge and around the carousel. Another one of our Midwest drivers. Obviously, a lot of Americans showing up with this being prime time over in the U.S. Late afternoon or early evening, depending on where you hail from. Got a good variety from across the states there. A Pennsylvania driver. We've got an Atlantic driver in here. One from California even. Lionel Callisto is the one representing the Sunshine State out there. Of course, we got Georgia and Indiana. Don't forget Dean Mole, hailing from the Hoosier State, the one that my own family hails from, even though I myself am not a Hoosier. Got about 40 seconds left here on the clock here on the warm-up, and then from there, they've got to tackle these 25 minutes to try and do their best to advance into the next round, where it could be a little bit more chaotic at Iowa in Indy cars. But even still, not everybody is as experienced here on the roadside, especially not in these stock cars. We'll just have to wait and see how everybody handles it, since we can only go on what we've been watching in warm-up with everybody doing all their practice here. Of course, they've had a little bit of time earlier in the week and earlier in the day to try and get some time down on the course, but you never know who has put the time in. Try and be fast as we watch that 666 finish up and the checkered flag now come out in the warm-up. That's going to set our grid for today for the first of 3 races in the Champions Charity Finale. Let's go through your starting order here with Marcus Niskanen. Excuse me, no, it's Matthew Thunhorst, rather, on the pole. Cameron Dance is starting in 2nd position, and Travis Warling will be P3. Outside of row 2, Trevor Clement will be 4th position. Dwayne Burns starting in 5th. Lionel Callisto starts in the 6th spot. Then you've got Chris Purnell starting in P7. John King, he is up very, very early. From what I understand, it's about 5 a.m. for him where he is right now. He starts in 8th position. Then you've got Dean Mole on the inside of row 5, and the outside of that, rounding out row 10, is Kurt Crum. Daniel Stevens will be starting in 11th. I mentioned Central European driver Uldis Putakkilis starts in 12th. Marcus Niskanen in 13th next to him. Then it's Kevin Hill starting 14th. The inside of the next row has Adam Passaponte starting 15th. Michael Skurlock will be P16. Josh Wolf will be starting in the 17th spot. He'll be followed by Dave Douglas in 18th. Ross Banfield, P19 for him. Top 20 is going to be rounded out by Wade Hayes. Mirko Datonak will be starting 21st. And you've got Jeff Schmeier starting 22nd. Brian Barnes join us. The old popsicle car is back once again in the 23rd position at the start. Wayne Hutchison will be P24. Lyndon Swaby, peg leg, will be starting the 25th and last advancing position if he manages to finish there. Scott Corbin, 26. Another driver coming over from that DGFX race. And then 27th, the last on the field, will be Thomas Peterson, as they've already started their pace lap. Will be a rolling start, thankfully. Be interesting to see these with a standing start, especially down into turn 1 with the speed that they would get before they get to there. But they're doing it traditional NASCAR style here with this rolling start. Be interesting to see who has to manage tires and who does well managing tires, as the current temperatures have gone down a little bit, but still not enough to really ease the load on the drivers. It's 109 degrees Fahrenheit now that the warm-up is over. And it's a little bit late in the afternoon currently in the sim. It's about 3:30 virtual standard time right now here in Wisconsin. Coming down into one of the more popular places to pass here at turn 5, the end of the Moraine sweep, but it's easy to outbrake yourself with it being downhill. And then immediately they come right back up to the crest and the blind entry into turn 6. Very, very tricky corner. I do believe, as we've had to fly Christian Challoner all the way across the states over here to Wisconsin, and it looks like he is just getting settled in. Christian, welcome to the booth. Glad to have you in. You've had a lot of experience driving stock cars, but how much experience do you have driving them here on road courses?
Well, a good deal, and actually a decent amount at this track as well. I raced this exact combination quite a few times, a couple of times in series that you've actually covered as well. In Sox Out Racing, I was a contender in that league for some time, and I can say that the biggest thing with any kind of stock car, whether it's the truck, the Cup, the Xfinity, it's always tires on road courses, and it's always who manages them best, who comes out the winner.
We'll have to watch, because those who are at the front aren't necessarily the quickest. They're just the ones who finish the highest in the points in 2019 in the majors, and that's overall. So it doesn't matter where you finished within your region, because if you haven't watched the majors before, they have 3 different regions: international, European, and American regions. And so it's just however many points you accrued, regardless of whoever is around you. You can see the Porsche pace car now leading them down to one of the other places to pass here, Christian, into Canada Corner.
Yeah, this track is actually a really good combination with these cars. It suits them quite well. There's a lot of 90 rights, and well, it might not be so pleasant to drive 90 rights in these cars. They do provide a lot of passing points, and obviously the kink is an opportunity to get a big run down into Canada. And there's again another run down into turn 1, and it's all about who can get off the corner the best and who can really manage the braking the best and not lock them up and slide off.
We'll see who can do that the first time through with these tires. Probably cooled down a little bit with them just trundling around. The Porsche pace car takes them around the final turn, and Thunhorst will be given control of the field once that pace car peels into pit lane. There it goes. Thunhorst does not wait. He immediately gets on the loud pedal. He is off like a shot as the green flag is out here for the first race of the Champions Charity finale here for the majors. He gets a good jump over Cameron Dance in the number 27. Already a few of them breaking a little bit early, giving space down here into turn 1. Is everybody going to make it through clean? It's all very, very pleasant through that first turn. Not seeing any beating and banging. Christian, that's a good sign.
Yeah, I had a great job by everybody. That's always really challenging, especially with these cars. The braking zones are about 8 miles long with these things, so very easy to overshoot, especially on the first lap when you're trying to gain positions on the initial start.
The Thunhorst got a good start already. Cameron Dance trying to close down. The number 27, not going to try and take a dive down into turn 5 as everybody woes it up on that downhill braking zone. A little bit of battling farther back in 11th. Dean Mole and Daniel Stevens trying to sort that out. Stevens is going to come out ahead.
And it's imperative that these guys get single file for this next section as fast as they can, because being double file through here really slows everybody down.
Ooh, and looks like Dance lost second place. Travis Warling managed to get by him. The number 90 moving up into second place when we weren't looking. So now he's got to set his sights on Thunhorst, who's pulled a gap of about 0.8 of a second up for the lead. Again, 25-minute race here. This is not lap limited to however many they can complete in that time frame as they come down towards the kink for the first time.
Yeah, and I think realistically this car and this combination actually suits everybody running in the top 4. All those drivers, we've seen them be very, very competitive with cars that have a tendency to melt their tires, very high horsepower cars as well. So I think this is right in their wheelhouse, and I think we'll see a great fight between all 4 of them.
A bit of a spin at the back of the field. Looks like Dave Douglas, something happened coming through the carousel as he was way off the course on the exit of there. Also, John King started from pit lane, So that's why he is well far behind. And looks like Adam Fasaponti, unfortunately, finding trouble in Canada corner.
Yeah, we'll have to take a look as to whether he spun on his own or whether he was assisted there. But obviously, that's really detrimental to his chances of moving forwards.
Bad news. Looks like Dave Douglas also had more problems down at Canada corner, and he found the wall on that one. We'll get to that later as we continue to watch the lead. It is Thunhorst leading Warling, leading Dance. All three of them starting to break away from Burns back there. A little look to the inside from Travis Warling, though, as he's feeling feisty here on only lap 2.
Yeah, I feel like this car and this kind of high power, really low grip situation really suits a guy like Warling really well. And it looks like he's lining himself up for a bit of a move here down into turn 5, and this downhill braking zone is really difficult, even more so with these cars, so it'll be interesting. Oh, he's actually just been let through.
Yeah, Thunhorst let both Warling and Dance go by, so that sends him down into 3rd place currently. Now, usually we see that in lesser powered cars here, Christian, but I can't imagine the draft is good enough that really you'd want to be 3rd in line.
Well, see, it's interesting you mentioned the draft. You'd think it was actually a really strong effect with them being stock cars, and obviously on an oval we do see that the draft is massive, but in my experience when it comes to road courses, the draft with these cars is actually not very strong at all, so it's all about the corner exit and carrying that speed down the straight to give yourself an opportunity.
Right now, Warling still your leader as he leads them through the carousel onto the kink and the kettle bottoms once more. And looks like Thunhorst starting to even drop back a little bit, so maybe he saw the writing on the wall. Again, 25 cars advance into the next round to Iowa, Christian, so I wonder if he's just thinking, let's not fight, let's just get me through to the next round.
Yeah, that's definitely going to be a consideration. Obviously, we don't have too many not advancing through the next round here. I believe it'll only be 2 from this race. So with 25 going through, there's not a lot of sense in fighting it very hard. Obviously, if you end up in an incident, then you're going to be one of the 2 not going through. So with so many, it just makes sense. And especially like I was saying with the tires with this car, the easier you go on them to start off with, the more they pay off towards the end of a run. So maybe he's thinking that he's going to have a little bit of an opportunity late on.
As Warling sets the fastest lap of the race now that he has been freed up. Oh, and Callisto, can he hold on to it? Nope. No. That's off he goes and falls well down the order as he tries to get it turned around. Again, as long as he is within the top 25, he's still safe. But you don't want to fall too quickly here as he's now down to 20th and 21st. He's still having trouble getting going.
Yeah, and that's exactly the kind of scenario that you don't want to have happen to yourself, because he was completely safe going through. I mean, as somebody else who every race you join, you want to go for it. So I can totally understand why he's trying to make that move, but in the context of the race, it's not helped him at all.
Meanwhile, we had change for those transfer spots. John King, despite starting from pit lane, has passed Scott Corbin, who had a spin. So John King currently the last one and on the bubble.
And Adam Fasaponti, we saw him have a moment at Canada corner as well. And he's obviously dropped back from the main pack quite a lot, but he's still in 24th, so he's still going to be advancing right now.
Top group have started to pull away from one another. Let's go down to 5th to Trevor Clement. He's got a train of about 3, including himself. That's Kurt Crum and Chris Purnell just behind him. You might notice that there are various, instead of sponsors on the cars, in a lot of cases, they've all elected to put charities, various charities. That's a big bobble from Purnell through the kink. So drivers have been trying to promote their charity of choice here in the Champions Charity Finale, try and encourage people to donate. Oh, and we
had somebody go wide at the kink, which is a very dangerous point of the track in these cars.
Just trying to hear who that was. We got some information and I didn't quite catch it. Oh, it was the 666. So Uldis, unfortunately, having issues. Seen a few cars swapping positions around, so obviously already the tires getting a little bit slippery here with only 7 minutes on the clock. As we see our field come up the front stretch once more. Warling is leaving everybody in the dust, by the way. About 1.8 seconds back to Dance, who, as you mentioned, Christian, Dance is no slouch, although Dance just actually went off track. The 27 out of turn 1 is slowed up greatly through the grass. He's going to lose his second place. Nope, maybe not. Looks like Thunhorst backs out of it.
Yeah, and it's interesting to say we've obviously had about almost 8 minutes of this race on now, and it's only a 25-minute race, but I can tell you that 25 minutes on a set of tires in an Xfinity car is a very long time at a road course, and certainly these guys are going to be feeling that as we get towards the end.
A little bit of a move for third place as Matthew Thunhorst under threat from Dwayne Burns. They almost bang wheels, and Burns is going to be able to take that P3 away. In fact, fourth place slipping away from Matthew Thunhorst as Trevor Clement sneaks through in that 111.
Yeah, looked like there was a little bit of contact right on the exit of the corner there, and it just looks like Thunhorst just it looks like he's so focused on just getting to the next round no matter what that right now fighting these positions is just not worth it to him. As we see the 777 go sailing around.
Yep, that was Kurt Crum. He got a little bit of help from the likes of Chris Purnell, both of them losing positions, and one more gets into it. That's Josh Wolf, who has to avoid contact. Started with Purnell and the 777. Purnell's the dark yellow and black car that you see getting into him. Ooh, that was great avoidance by the 48.
Yeah, he did lose that a lot, though. Still, he was out there on the gravel for quite some time.
Gonna watch it from Purnell's perspective. It was a very slight touch from that view. Didn't look nearly as bad from that perspective.
Yeah, and that's the thing with these cars is that they're so reliant upon the tire grip. There's really no downforce to help you with these things, especially on the road course with the speeds being relatively slow compared to what these cars are used to, and they can be unsettled very, very easily, especially in the braking zone. It doesn't take a lot to just get tapped a little bit and it over yours, and that's it. You've got really no chance of holding on to it.
So you see our leader currently up ahead of Dance after Dance's issues. He's now 3 seconds behind. And we were going to have a little bit of a battle for 25th, but Corbin has fallen off of John King compared to where he was just half a lap ago. Good news for John King, bad news for Scott Corbin. Yeah,
and speaking of guys outside of the transfer spots, it's gonna take a lot for Dave Douglas to get back in this fight. He's 23 seconds or so behind John King, so it's a long road for recovery for him.
So we watch the number 10 currently last on the field. We've switched up to King now. Still the last to eke through on the bubble. Again, if you're just joining us, we have 3 races in store here for this event at different circuits each. And we've had a problem with Corbin. I think he might be out of this race.
As we've had another slight moment. I believe the 47 just went wide, but he's got it back gathered.
Yep, there we see that's Corbin coming out of turn 1. He does hit the wall pretty hard, and he took a toe. So that means he is our first one that is officially out of this race, as he has now left. Just a little bit of wheel spin there, and eventually he finds the tires in a pretty hard way. Douglas now only has to pass one car to try and get himself into it.
Well, he has to pass one car, or one car up ahead has to have some incident happen, and he'll be transferring through. So either or really for him. I think he's actually got a bank on misfortune, though. I don't really see him running down that gap, to be honest.
Yeah, it seems unlikely. You talked about the 47. Niskanen just had an off in turn 6, lost about 4 positions from it. He's going once again in 17th. Watching this top group as they come up the hill. Cameron Dance in second place. Burns following very closely. Don't count out Clement. We know that both he and Thunhorst are very, very fast, considering Thunhorst is our champion over on the Americas side for 2019. A lot of rubber being laid down there by the number 98, though, coming out of turn 1.
Yeah, and I'm honestly surprised that some of these guys are pushing it as hard as they are, because we've said it quite a few times now that 25 advanced, there's there's not a lot to be gained by really leaning on your car, and I think the more that you press it, everybody's kind of in a holding pattern right now, and if you really lean on it, you're going to hurt your tires, and you're going to have a really bad time come the last 5 to 10 minutes of the race.
He's neither pizzaing or French frying, unfortunately, right now. You have to wonder, though. I mean, you always say that you can take the dog out of the fight, but you can't take the fight out of the dog. How do you get the ego out of the race car driver and get them to slow down when they obviously will want to win, especially up against some of the best competitors in this league?
Well, that's the thing, isn't it? And I know I'm sat here saying this in the booth, but if I was out on track,
You'd be going for it.
If I'm seeing somebody pulling away, I'm mad as hell. So yeah, I can understand. I can understand completely why everybody's not letting up. But sometimes you do have to look at it and just be like, hey, it's not that it doesn't matter, but that there's way more at stake here than one position.
We're watching the battle between Sherlock and Purnell. This is for 8th position, and a little bit of a wide run for the number 451. That gives it easily over to the number 920. That bumps him up to 8th position. It'll be about 2 seconds up the road for him to catch the 666.
I've seen the 666 have a couple of issues, but it looks like he's running a good pace right now, so it'll be interesting to see if he can progress up and maybe take that 7th spot away.
And we should mention that there is some incentive to try and finish better because they do set the grid according to the finishing order here at Road America, as we see another go between these two. Looks like Burns going to work on the outside of Cameron Dance for 2nd place. Dance staying defensive down into turn 1. We've already seen him off here once, though, and he's going to have a horrible exit based on that. Burns tries to take advantage, but once again can't get side by side.
Yeah, and as we're seeing that happen, we're being told that the 10, which is Dave Douglas, has actually had a spin, so he's fallen further back off the pack now, and he really is in a scenario where he has to have some misfortune happen.
He's really got to rely on that as we stay on this battle here between the number 19 and the 27. Dance holding him off down through turn 5, but now with all that fighting they had back and forth, Clement and Thunhorst have caught up to the back of him. It's becoming a 4-car battle.
Yeah, we saw Clement and Thunhorst kind of going a little bit easier than this pair as well. So as we kind of get down to the last 10 minutes of the race, I think we'll maybe see those guys come back forwards a little bit more as we see Dwayne Burns and Cameron Dance start to struggle a little bit with rear tires. We see Dance is sliding all over the place. I'm amazed he's getting lap time out of his car right now.
It's a bit of Australia versus the Americas right now because Dance and Burns hailing from down under. And then you've got Clement and Thunhorst, both here in the U.S. And, we've had a problem with Peterson, the number 7, all the way down at the bottom of the field. Looks like he had an issue in turn 6. I think this is a lone car incident.
Yeah, it looks like he just looped it under braking.
Great job by everybody to get by without hitting him. This did move him below John King, who is now up to 24th, but Peterson's still about 57 seconds, nearly a minute ahead of Dave Douglas. Dave Douglas is certainly our Dory Award of the day for sticking with it. Got to give him credit for that.
Yeah, Dance just had a pretty bad exit off of the final corner there, and he's got Burns who's got a bit of a run behind him. And actually, something that I noticed last time and something I wanted to mention is that the outside in turn 1 is actually where you want to be. It sounds counterintuitive, but I promise you there's more grip out there and you can make a pass more easily on the outside in 1 than you can on the inside.
Well, right now, whoa, his Dance nearly loses control coming off of turn 1. As much as that slows him up, still Dwayne Burns isn't able to try and go on the attack. Maybe he could get something down through the Moraine sweep. We're right on board now, watching from atop the number 19. Not close enough to really get a little bit of a draft off the back of the 27. And I don't think he's going to be close enough to try and send one up the inside.
He isn't, but he's kind of pressing the issue a bit now. And as we see, he wasn't there on the entry. But the thing is that Cameron Dance's situation is only going to get worse. Now that he's got the rear tires really mad and angry at him, he's... With the way that these cars work, that doesn't ever come back. once they're gone, and he's going to struggle with that for the rest of the race. As you see, even now, he's struggling to get the power down.
He's doing an impressive job to hold back these three behind him. He's only lost about 5 seconds up to Warling in front of him. We're on lap 8, so he's at least pacing Warling to within a little less than a second per lap. Just certainly not keeping too close to him as they come around the carousel. Dwayne Burns trying to tuck it in tight, get off that late apex of that long right-hander and down through the kettle bottoms.
Yeah, and you can see that as it comes through the kink, Cameron Dance has yawed out way more, even through a corner as dangerous as that. But Burns is just not close enough to have an opportunity this time. It's really going to come down to a mistake from Dance, I think, but as I keep saying, the more that Dance's tires go away, the higher the chance of that mistake happening.
See him squirming almost off of every single corner at this point. Now we ride on board, looking back through the rear windshield of the 27. This is that critical corner.
And he managed to get it rotated, and I have no idea how he did that. It looked like he was going straight off to the grass, and he somehow got it turned.
Well, of course, a dirt pro driver is going to know how to slide a car, I suppose. Burns stays with him. He's about within 3/10, nothing doing right now. They come up to turn 1 once again. This seems to be the Achilles heel, though, of the 27. This corner right here, we've seen him slide. We've seen him go wide. This time he's a lot steadier, though. Oh, Kalisto off the final corner. He finds the wall.
And Kalisto is one of those drivers, and I think Kalisto's actually got heavy damage now. Looked like he was crabbing a little bit down the straightaway. I think he's still going to be safe if he can just get to the end.
Yeah, and it's a long pit lane with these few laps left. I'm not sure that if he wants to come down, even to try and take that spare car. He's 20th spot, and like you said, he's continuing on through this next few laps at least. Looking to see if we got any battles in the mid-pack. He was with Kurt Crum, who he was fighting with earlier was Kalisto, but now Crum has set his sights on Lyndon Swaby for 16. Oh, Oldis, the 666 has got it turned around at turn 5. And we've got a problem with Clement. Coming out into the Hurry Downs. Let's take a look at what happened to the 111. Ooh, it was already out of shape mid-corner.
Yeah, and this is what I was talking about with the tires and how 25 minutes around here doesn't sound like a lot of time, but I can promise you 25 minutes on a car that is not meant to drive a road course, it eats its tires incredibly quickly. And yeah, now we're starting to see drivers really struggle with it.
So as we come back live across the line soon, let's see, we're going to be about 4.5 minutes left to go. This actually might be close on how many laps exactly we have here.
Yeah, I think we're looking at maybe 2 to 3 laps. I think we're probably closer to 3.
Let's see, he's going to cross at about 4:38 or so, it looks like. Yeah. And they're running 2:15, so you're right. I think that should be 3 laps left, but just barely an extra lap for Travis Warling.
And he's the one guy out there who looks like he's having no problems at all with his tire.
That number 90 is looking fantastic. He was the one that was challenging Matthew Thunhorst for the championship in the Americas region. Travis has certainly got the car underneath him pretty safely. Sounds like we had another problem for Udis, unfortunately. And now he's fallen to 20th with that.
Yeah, we've seen a lot of guys have this issue where they're running up near the front and the grid has really kind of been turned upside down in a lot of positions. So it definitely wasn't a cert that, oh, as we see, Cameron Dance makes a mistake and Dwayne Barnes has gone to his outside, but he's on the grass.
Oh, didn't quite work out. It was between 5 and 6. And Dwayne Burns just still stuck behind the number 27. This is...
Looked like he was trying to make the pass with his right sides on the grass right there.
Oh, Clement around once more, this time at turn 5. Looks like he's got it going. Let's take another look at the replay. Sends him down to 16th position. Solo car incident. just let that rear swing around. For those wondering about the drivers advancing, right now the last one to advance is Peterson in 25th. Douglas is about a minute behind him, still hoping for somebody to have a dramatic enough problem that he could slip in.
See, this is actually a moment where I'm wondering how many drivers here went to the trouble of mapping their brake bias adjuster, because I think a lot of people are struggling, especially on the brakes where the rear is getting away from them. And if you have the ability to dial the bias forwards, you can only go forward 3% in this car, but it's 3% is a lot better than having no adjustment at all. Yeah, with fixed setups in these cars, there is the possibility of adjusting a couple of things. You can change the steering ratio, the steering offset, and the brake bias, but nothing.
We've been watching some great battles, both for second and third, and fifth and sixth are very tightly contested. That's Daniel Stevens and Chris Purnell right now in the 66 of the 920. They're coming up the front stretch just behind these pair that we're watching on screen. And it looks like that Purnell's not going to be able to make the move now as Cameron Dance continues to be hounded by Dwayne Burns. This is to settle out second position, best of the rest behind Travis Worling. As many mistakes as we've been seeing from Dance, I have to say, Dwayne seems like he's just not quite on top of it enough.
Yeah, and that's where kind of some experience in racing these cars on the road courses really helps you out. You really start to pick up where drivers are weakest and strongest, and sort of play the strengths of your own car, and that really does only come from experience racing the car. And I think perhaps maybe Dwayne Burns hasn't ran it all that much, and he's doing a great job. I mean, he's in third and he's 6 seconds off the lead, which actually for a 25-minute race is really good.
Oh, meanwhile, we've been watching this fight between Purnell and Stevens got overtaken to turn 5, but he had a thought about getting back at him. Purnell squirming under power to keep that top 5 within his grasp.
And we mentioned that although 25 advanced, this does set the grid, so it's not like you're racing for nothing. And with it being IndyCars at Iowa, the races are not too long, and it's hard to pass in those cars, so it is definitely worth something to have that track position.
Josh Wolf and Ross Banfield also looking to try and sort out who starts within the top 10. Right now, Wolf holds the advantage as they come through the kink. As Banfield chases, could have a chance. Ooh, and this is actually a good exit for Banfield. Josh Wolf is under attack. He doesn't quite fully defend. Down to the inside, coming into Canada corner. Both of them trying to get it woed up in time into here. Both of them quite locking it up. And the 48 still holding on around the outside through Canada corner. Wolf defends successfully.
Yeah, a huge moment again on the brakes. Everybody's struggling with the rear stepping out on the brakes, but I don't think this is over. He's definitely got at least one more chance.
Absolutely. They're coming up to the front stretch. While we do have the white flag for Travis Worling, we'll jump over to him once we get closer there. Banfield falls back a little bit, and Josh Wolf gives himself some breathing space as they come up to turn 1. The chances are running away from the 24. He's going to have to get aggressive once again.
We see the 24 makes a little bit of an offset there to perhaps scare the 48, but Ross has got to be careful here because he's lighting up his rear tires as well, and that's his advantage over Wolf right now, is that Wolf has less rear grip than he does. So it is the last lap, but you still don't want to use it all up in one go.
He tried his best to get the run down the Moraine sweep. It didn't quite work out for Ross Banfield. Definitely not close enough to go on the attack there.
But Wolf's gone in really deep.
Oh, and a critical mistake on the final lap. Ross Banfield snakes through. He's going to take 10th place away. And Cameron Dance has lost his position. Cameron Dance, no, Burns is off. Let's look and see what happened between these two before we get to the finish here. You know what? Dance made a mistake. Burns tried to take advantage, and he got tipped off the track.
Yeah, I don't think that was realistically anybody's fault, so to speak. It looked like it was a racing incident with a heavy amount of netcode between the two cars. There was definite daylight there that sent Burns around.
Meanwhile, Dave Douglas is going to go a lap down to our leader, who you see going by. The number 90 has one more corner to go with about a 6.5 second lead over anybody else near him. Onto the front stretch. He may have started this race in third on the second row, but he's going to finish first and start on the pole when we get to Iowa in a few moments' time. Worling, your first winner of the night. Dance with a good second place. That'll still get him on the front row here. Looks like we had a problem with Wade Hayes farther down in the field in Canada Corner. Sixth place, a tight little fight between Sherlock, Mole, and Hill, but Sherlock is going to take that sixth place. Josh Wolf and Ross Banfield actually goes in favor of Banfield after he capitalized on Wolf's outbreaking himself in turn 5. And of course, Wade Hayes gets it going once again, but not before Lionel Kalisto sneaks back through. The former champion will manage to finish in what is 17th place. Ooh, very tight for 21st here. Again, this settles the order for the grid as Hutchinson is just barely ahead of Schmeier, and he's going to finish ahead of him. John King ahead of Peterson. That settles our 25 drivers advancing. Let's go through your finishing order for this race, with Travis Worling being your winner here today. Cameron Dance with a second place, exactly where he started, actually. Thunhorst winds up in third because of the issues that we had with Burns earlier on. Chris Purnell will be finishing in fourth and starting in fourth next race. Daniel Stevens from 11th to 5th. He was one up by Sherlock. Michael went from 16th on the grid to 6th at the end of this race. Dean Mole took 7th with Kevin Hill in 8th. Then it's Dwayne Burns, eventually got it going, but he fell all the way to 9th on that last lap. Ross Banfield rounds out your top 10, Christian.
And we've got Joshua Wolf. We saw him lose out to Banfield there, but still a good run by him, up from 17th to 11th. Brian Barnes, similar, 23rd to 12th. Lyndon Swaby, 25th to 13th. Trevor Clement going the opposite direction, went from 4th to 14th, with Marcus Niskasen coming home 15th. Kurt Crummins 16th. Lionel Kalisto, we saw him have a couple of incidents himself, comes home 17th. Wade Hayes had a moment on that last lap with 18th. Mirko Watanek coming home in 19th, and Adam Fasiponte after that earlier spin comes home 20th.
21st went to Wayne Hutchison. Jeff Schmeier behind him, very close to the line, 22nd. Uldis Pukelis, he was so fast at the start and then fell backwards. He winds up 23rd. John King, after starting from pit lane, not too bad, getting up to 24th position. And Thomas Peterson ekes through at 25th, the last to advance. Dave Douglas and Scott Corbin in 26th and 27th are done for the night. Checking to see, I do believe we will be heading to break here. So we're going to take a short moment to catch our breath. We'll come back with the race at Iowa. Don't go away. Welcome back to Road America. We just watched the first race of 3 here for the Champions Charity Finale for the Majors, and Travis Warling was our winner for this first round. Travis, congratulations on the victory. You may not have taken the championship, but it looks like you pulled one over on Thunhorse today.
Yeah, thank you. It was nice to actually beat him at something, so I'm happy with this.
How much experience do you have running these oval cars on road courses? Because compared to everybody else out in these hot conditions, you looked very comfortable. Most other drivers were dealing with a lot of wheel spin.
Surprisingly enough, this was the first time I've ever done it. I don't know. The driving style just fit me really well for some reason. Especially with the wheel spin, I was very good at just kind of controlling that, which seemed to help a ton. But I've had zero experience in these cars on anything outside of like a large oval. So this was
the next few rounds, or the next 2 rounds rather, are going to be extremely different on how they drive. So how do you feel about your chances once you hop in the IndyCar, especially starting on the pole at Iowa?
I'm hoping I'll do well. It's not like my favorite combo, and honestly, I'm just trying to get to the last stage. I know if I can make it out of the IndyCar into something else, I'll do really well once we get into like the rallycross stuff. So I'm just kind of planning on not binning it or hitting anyone, I guess.
Yeah, I guess all you have to do is just get within the advancement of the drivers trying to go through. It is a charity race, and so we'd be remiss to not bring up who have you got on your hood, and who are you supporting, and why?
Yeah, so I'm supporting for this race KIR LGMD2I, which is a very long acronym for KIR limb-girdle muscular dystrophy type 2I. So what limb-girdle muscular dystrophy type 2I is a very ultra rare form of muscular dystrophy. And the reason this disease specifically is important to me is because one of my amazing teammates on Unorthodox has this type of disease. And he actually does all of his races from his power wheelchair. And he's remaining nameless for now, but if he wants to, he can talk about it and share his story. But this organization helps fund research for it and so they can hopefully find a cure. And since its start a few years back, they have raised over $650,000 for research. And they're an amazing organization. They've helped my teammate immensely over the years, and I'm very glad to help support them.
That's a fantastic story on this. Well, I'd say you've done them proud. You certainly got them some exposure with that great racing out there. Best of luck over at Iowa.
Yeah, thank you.
That was Travis Warling, winner here at Road America for the first round of the charity race. Speaking of heading over to Iowa, Christian, we're going to have to switch gears dramatically here, going from this big, heavy oval car on a road course to what is, I guess, a mixed car in terms of road and oval on an oval course in the IndyCar with a lot of downforce. You've done this yourself with the majors and obviously taken a championship by being able to switch from car to car. But how do you do that so quickly? Because I have a feeling that your brain is sort of in a certain way of operating once you get used to one of them, and then suddenly you've got to change all that.
Yeah, well, I mean, on the face of it, it couldn't really be more different, could it? You go from a situation where you're having to wait so long on the power, and you're having to brake way, way, way earlier than the corners, and then you go into something where it's practically flat out, and there is obviously a huge consideration in that, and the speeds are obviously completely at opposite ends of the spectrum. But at the same time, there is actually some degree of crossover, and I think more so than people think, because okay, on the face of it, they're very different, but at the same time, both cars are about being extremely smooth. To be good on the road course in the Xfinity car or any oval car for that matter, you have to be incredibly smooth with all of your inputs. And realistically, it's the same thing with the IndyCar. You might be wide open for a long time, and you might not be using the brakes, but it's a car that responds very badly to sudden inputs, just like the Xfinity car does. And in that respect, it's somewhat similar. And I think the best thing that guys can do is kind of wind themselves up slowly as they go in. There's a little bit of practice. There's not a lot, but there's enough to kind of get yourself settled. And I think it's not too surprising that we see the same guys who are good in one thing then transfer quite well and are very good in the other.
We'll watch and see who can channel their inner Carlos Sainz and be a smooth operator. In a moment's time, we'll come back to you with the second round at Iowa. Stick around. Welcome to Iowa Speedway, and welcome to the Champions Charity Finale for the majors. We are watching round 2. This is the warm-up currently here at a beautiful facility with the sun setting. Before we get into things, let's take a quick look at what it is like from the driver's perspective here in the IndyCar at this short oval.
Hello everyone, welcome to the Global Sim Racing channel. I'm Brian Yazek, taking you for a spin around the Iowa Speedway in the GSRC IR18 IndyCar. Without further ado, here we go. Hot lap time, you're going to be down at the bottom of the track, finding that yellow line with the front tires. Watch the bump right there. Swinging it back out towards the fence. Turn 3 and 4, you're going to be wanting to dive it down to the bottom and try to find that nice rotation point. Kind of drift up a little too early, that wall will be waiting for you. Now, Iowa has the benefit of being able to move all over the place. So in the quest for air, you're going to see guys all over the place here in 1 and 2, probably up in that second, third seam, getting out there by the fence. Turns 3 and 4 going to be very similar. You're going to see guys right up to that fence, dusting it off lap after lap after lap, coming off of turn 4, down the front stretch and across the line. And that's going to complete our very brief guide here around the Iowa Speedway. I'm Brian Yazek. Enjoy the show.
Yeah, you can see with a little bit more sun out what exactly is going on, but we will have lights here. And Christian, for of all the places for them to choose for the oval round, I'm kind of glad they chose this one because this is a unique place.
Yeah, I think this is a better choice than, say, a bigger oval where you kind of pinned flat out for a lot longer. And this is a really interesting track, 0.88 mile track that we just don't really see anywhere else, and a really unique corner shape and a really fun track in really all cars. And actually one of my favorite kind of short to mid-size ovals.
I don't blame you on that one. Let's go over the details for today's race for this second round. It is the IR18, if I can get that out, IndyCars. It is 50 laps. It is lap limited on this one. And they do have cautions turned on. So we'll have to watch out for that. It is still fixed setup, so they don't have to worry about trying to get speed out of that. And this time, it is the top 15 that advance. So a lot more drivers are going home this round than they were in the first one. Watch out for that. It'll be a little bit more fierce fighting there in the mid-pack to try and get yourself out of the danger zone. What is the wake like in these cars? We've talked so much about the grip that the downforce gives them, but I mean, are we going to see a lot of pack racing? Is it going to be tough to get close to one another? What do you think, Christian?
Yeah, I think that definitely the wake is going to be a huge factor. I think for the first couple of laps of a run, you're going to be able to stay pretty close, and then we're going to see them spread out a little bit as it goes on. And I think the wake is going to be the most important thing to manage. And just looking at them in practice, it looks like the biggest issue people have is when they're following somebody and they come off the corner, they're coming off too high and they're having to really check out of the gas, and anybody then who's behind them then has a run. And I think that's where we're both going to see passing, and we're also going to see problems.
It's going to get a little bit more complicated after this because we've done road and we've done oval. Well, how about some rallycross after this one? And while you will be put into grid order for that next race, there's multiple heats that will be run until they decide a finale there, which will be down to 8 cars for that one. See one of our many Kinetic Racing drivers who've come in and made a big splash with the various teams that compete here in the majors. Kinetic is one of the newer teams in this series and has challenged the likes of Alliance, which has been the dominant force since the start of this incredible series that we've covered for a couple years now on GSRC. Sherlock work his way around, as well as Brian Barnes getting his time in under practice. You can see the lights already on around the track with the sun going down. It's much cooler conditions here in this with 78 degrees on the track surface, so it should be pretty grippy compared to what they experienced over in the stock cars.
Yeah, definitely, but also a really big learning curve, especially for the guys who don't tend to race this that often. Obviously, we had a couple of races with this car this year. In the major series, we had the Indy 500, and that really is about as good an introduction to aero push as you could possibly have. So these guys obviously ran that race, and I think the experience that they picked up there is gonna transfer pretty well. And whoever manages to kind of tap back into that will do the best.
Dean Mole wound up your quickest here in the warm-up with Thunhorst behind him, interestingly. So looks like they're getting to the grid here in a moment as the checkered flag comes out for our practice. Let's go through your starting order for today. On the pole, as we mentioned before, it's going to be Travis Warling with Cameron Dance next to him to his outside. Matthew Thunhorst will be starting in third with his speed in the warm-up. That bodes well for him. Chris Purnell starts in 4th position. Daniel Stevens will be 5th with Michael Sherlock in 6th spot. Dean Mole starts 7th and Kevin Hill in 8th. Dwayne Burns will be starting in 9th in the top 10, rounded out by Ross Banfield.
And moving on into the next 10, we've got Joshua Wolf starting 11th, Brian Barnes in 12th, Lyndon Swaby in 13th, Trevor Clements starting in 14th, a little bit further back than he'll have hoped for. And then Kurt Crum and Lionel Kalisto, I think this is the area I'm going to look for, in 15th and 16th. And then Mirko Dautenek in 17th with Adam Fasaponte 18th, Wayne Hutchinson 19th, and Jeff Schmeier in 20th.
Last 3 to grid up is Uldi Putklis and John King and Thomas Peterson. As looks like we didn't get a full field to transfer over. That makes it a little bit easier, but still a number of them will go home after this one. It'll be 2 pace laps behind the pace car, and Travis Warling will be leading the way. There is actually incentive to get in and race for this, other than trying to raise money for the charity and boost your ego. Obviously, they've got a provisional that they earn for the first 2 Daytona rounds. Essentially, if you come and race in this and finish and advance through the top 25, which obviously we saw those who did, they are able now to get an automatic entry into the pro level split of the first 2 rounds of the season. So that's why we saw those drivers maybe come in and not necessarily show up here for the finale. Well, not the finale, for round 2, I should say. Already having finished lap 1, they're going to be released once they get around back to turn 4. We didn't see cautions last round, so the mistakes were a little bit more costly. Now, granted, it'll be hard-pressed, Christian, to get away without some sort of big damage with the speeds that they're running here, but at least with the spare car, they should be able to get back into things a little bit easier at this track.
Yeah, that's true, but that also kind of brings in a sort of an inherent problem that everybody knows about with the IndyCar, where if you do have an incident, it tends to be massive, and if your car can't be driven back to the pits, the usefulness of that spare car and not losing a lap is obviously diminished.
Certainly is the case. So as they come around 3 and 4, the Mustang pace car peels into pit lane, giving control over to Travis Warling. He goes immediately, does not wait at all, gets a good jump over Cameron Dance. Behind them, a little bit of a battle for third, being led by Chris Purnell, with Sherlock and Thunhorst battling him for that. Oh, we already got a spin! Warling already into the wall. A few cars get into him. Looks like Brian Barnes got caught up in it. And Fassapani also.
That is not what we expected to see.
No. From a literal from hero to zero in the first 2 turns of the race. Let's watch one more time on Warling. Cold tires. Could it be the car maybe bottomed out a little bit here over the bump?
Yeah, it's very possible. The bottom of turn 1 and 2 is very, very bumpy, and obviously he was down there pretty low. I think he made a great decision to go really early, and it was all looking really good, and then this car just snaps around so fast, and you can see it just gets away from him, and he's got no real hope of holding on to it. And wow, that's really unfortunate for him. He did such a great job in the Xfinity race.
I'm going to watch from Face's perspective. The Pennsylvania driver, unfortunately, just at the wrong place at the wrong time. He was well back from the incident, but when it's the lead car, everybody's scattering. Let's see what he could see. Saw the smoke. Oh, yeah, that was hard to pick which way to go. He had to come in and take his spare car as well. But this hands the advantage over to Cameron Dance, who is now your leader.
Yeah, heavily so, I think. Especially with his experience on dirt going into the final as well.
Now, I'm looking to see if we have a time limit. Looks like a 30-minute time limit on this. So the drivers will have to try and hustle to make sure they don't have too many cautions like that, or they will be limited in terms of time. We'll get another pace lap around here before we get going green.
See that Warling's already scored as a lap down, so I'm guessing that he would have had to tow after that incident, and now he's 2 laps down. So I think realistically, unless he can get back going, not losing any more laps, then this might be over for him.
Yeah, there's no lucky dogs in this. I wonder if he accidentally forgot to turn on his free repair too.
Yeah, it's quite possible.
A while. Yeah. So this seems awful long for a tow, especially around an oval. I would have thought that he'd be in by now. I think we still have the lights on the pace car. Let me double check on that. Yes, we do. So got one more to go. Chris Purnell sitting pretty well, though. He's got himself up to second on this restart. Should be single file. And what about Thunhorse? Don't count him out as a potential threat here today. Looking through the field. Right now, the driver on the bubble is Kurt Krum, the last one that will get through. Doutenac, Schmeier, Hutchison, Putglis, Peterson, and King, as well as Fassapani, are the ones that will be out. And, of course, Warling, who we don't think he'll be getting back into this race, most likely.
Yeah, and obviously in the first race we only had 2 going home, and then in this race there were 23 took the flag, and we'll have 8 going home. And we had a number of our regular contenders, so to speak, guys like Lionel Callisto and Trevor Clement, really kind of starting out right on the borderline of being in the drop zone. So they've got some work to do.
Certainly do. As the lights are off on the pace car, Cameron Dance making sure and holding it right up to the wall Doesn't want to give anybody the chance to pass him on the outside with a bad start. Let's see what he's got underneath him as the pace car is in. He also goes immediately with a very good start to gap himself over Chris Purnell. If anything, Purnell has Sherlock coming up quickly behind him and actually gets into him. Immediately before we get through the corner, we get a caution. He spins up and he collects another one. I think that's Thunhorst. More cars piling in.
There's 2 Alliance cars in that. I think both Callisto and Thornhorst were in there. Or it might have been Clement.
So this all started with Purnell getting turned around. He clipped Thunhorst. Looking to see who else got involved. Looks like Kevin Hill got a piece of it. Hill then ran into Josh Wolf and Trevor Clement. Looking to see if anybody else. Looks like Wayne Hutchison, Tom Peterson also got some damage from that. This is a massive amount of cars. This might actually take out a lot of our drivers down towards that drop zone. Trying to see who all has come in. Looks like Hills brought the car in. So is Peterson. Wolf's managed to drive it back around. Again, they do have a spare car so they can get back out, but they're very much under the gun now.
Yeah, I think a lot of the guys involved in that have been able to drive back around. It looks like some were a little bit close to getting out in front of the pace car, but I think they all managed to do so. So they're all still in it, but they're all obviously down their spare. And I think we're seeing that the restart is incredibly challenging, especially coming off that corner. We mentioned about the bumps, the cold tires, and we actually saw somebody have a near half spin in the middle of the pack, actually on the initial pull of the restart, but managed to get it back going okay.
I think Peterson did take a tow because he went a lap down. Looks like Kevin Hill also is a lap down, unfortunately. And he's actually, it was extremely close for Kevin Hill because he's right now behind the leader of Cameron Dance. So the question is, does he push to try to get back on the lead lap, or does he simply drop back and hope that more cars have trouble?
Well, I think he has to push. I think he absolutely has to be on the lead lap. Whether he can actually pass Dance or not, though, is another matter. We spoke about the aero push, and the leader is at a really big advantage at all these ovals, and probably even more so around this one.
Looks like they're going to be holding these lapped cars in their position until 10 to go, at which point they will be cycled to the back of the field on the restarts to get them out of the way. Worling did come back out, by the way, but it looks like he's come back into the pits. Not sure if he's just taking some fresh tires, and that looks to be the case. This is just quick in and out. He's currently 3 laps down from the leader, but he's not giving up on it.
Well, no, and I mean, why would you when you've just seen what happened on that second restart? As we see, Hill, I think, is making the decision to go to the back of the line. He's coming down pit road.
Yeah, I guess he saw what Worling did, figured might as well get himself some fresh tires as well. Do believe, are the lights actually still on the pace car? Yes, they are still on. With the lapped cars, we had to take an extra lap around here. Watching to see if Hill comes back out. Yep, Hill with a quick stop for tires. He'll return in 22nd position. Besides Worling 3 laps down, both Hill and Peterson are our drivers who are a lap down right now. 20 still remain on the lead lap, and if you're just joining us, 15 will advance to the finale here for the charity race. That'll be with the rally cross cars here at Iowa Speedway, so they don't even have to go anywhere.
Yeah, and I think I've mentioned it already, but I think it's advantage firmly to Cameron Dance here. I know it's rallycross and it's not the kind of dirt that maybe he's used to, but I still think that experience holds true. And with what I think was his main competitor in Worling having such a slim chance of now going through, I think it definitely has swayed the advantage towards Dance.
And as far as bragging rights go, there's no point system between these 3 races. It is just who wins overall. So essentially the goal is to try to get yourself to that final round and then get yourself the win. Lights are now finally off, and Dance is going to get the restart. He was good on the last one, but we've yet to get a full lap of green flag racing. We're going to be restarting on lap 12. Could this cause more drivers to get antsy on this restart and make aggressive moves? They come through 3 and 4. Everybody sidling up to the wall. Mustang pace car down and into the pit lane. Dance with an immediate jump. Green flag is out on lap 12. Behind them, the first cars close together are Stevens in third with Dean Mole, Dwayne Burns, Ross Banfield. And in fact, it looks like up into second, Mole rather, into third rather, with a great move. Someone is dropping back quickly. That's Stevens.
Yeah, it looks like a couple of guys who maybe elected to choose the bottom there, and they all found out there was almost no grip there, and they're all having to check up, and they lost a lot of momentum coming down to 3 and 4 as we see a huge gaggle of cars now.
Yep, this is back around that bubble. And right now at the front of this group, that is Uldis Putklis, followed by Lyndon Swaby. They're starting to get it sorted out. Thankfully, no dramas came out of that.
Got a little bit of a checkup right behind him, but everybody seems to have survived okay so far.
That actually at the very back of
we've
it.
got a car going around on exit 4.
2 separate incidents. Looks like John King involved in one of them along with Chris Purnell, and there was another before that, Josh Wolf. Wolf with a little bit of contact with Purnell, actually. Oh, so Purnell was in both incidents. He had the initial contact, and then you can see King, who spun on his own, caused Purnell to try and take evasive action down low. That sent him into the pit wall. Unfortunately, Purnell's already used his spare car, so that's him pretty much out of this race.
And it really looks like the bottom of the racetrack is exceptionally slick. There's just everybody who goes down there is struggling to keep the car either low with the nose, or they're struggling to keep the rear end in check, and we've seen it on every restart and the initial start so far that is the danger point. And I think the guys running right up on the wall are being very smart, because that seems to be the safest place on the track.
Yeah, that incident definitely left Josh Wolf sort of an innocent victim. That was Purnell getting loose underneath him that caused him to slide into his side. So where is, let's see, looks like Wayne Hutchison is currently the driver in 15th, but he's going to get bumped up to 14th because Banfield comes into the pits to take his spare car. Looks like that put Purnell a lap down. Actually, why is Purnell still running? He took his spare car already, and that is not looking like a safe vehicle to try and drive for the remainder of this race.
It isn't, but with how many cars we see going out already, I mean, why not keep trying to go? if you can stop the stem of losing laps, then I think you have to try and see if it'll last.
I hope he takes it down to the apron at this point, because I'm not sure how that thing drives. I don't even think he knows how that thing is going to drive at full tilt.
Yeah, that thing looks pretty sad right now. I don't think he's going to be anywhere near on pace.
We're down to 17 drivers left on the lead lap. Clement is now currently the one in 15th. Thunhorst is on the same lap as him. Ooh, that'll be an enticing battle. 2 Alliance drivers, both of them known for being very quick, especially on ovals. And they're trying to decide who stays and who goes.
Yeah, and just a note on Walling, with both John King and Joshua Wolf have decided that they have had enough, and they have retired officially from the race. So Walling is now up to 21st. He still obviously needs to gain 6 more positions, but as we've seen, it can definitely happen.
Certainly have been, I'd say it's been more attrition filled at this race than we saw at Road America. You weren't kidding when you said that things go wrong in a big way in these Indy cars. We've had a spate of cautions. We finally got our first green flag bit of racing here at Iowa as the sun continues to go down over the horizon. I actually got to drive by this track a couple times last week on my way across the country for a little trip, and I can tell you that seeing it in person is actually quite impressive. It's a pretty big facility.
Well, yeah, I mean, this track also has a road course as well. So for a 0.88 mile track, that's quite surprising. We tend to not see really road courses on anything smaller than 1.5 miles. So it does seem like they've built quite a thing here.
And if you're making that trip, it's just along I-80 is Iowa Speedway. I recommend stopping at the I-80 truck stop. It's the self-claimed world's largest truck stop, and it's actually an interesting look to go and check that out. So just a little tip for anybody doing some cross-country driving as we come around to start lap 20 here. Seen a number of drivers. In fact, Kevin Hill has been in and out of the pits 3 times. So is Travis Warling at this point. I assume that most of those are just grabbing tires.
It looks like Purnell's made the decision that it probably is best to take that car to the back.
Yep. He's trundling through pit lane. Wonder if, yeah, it looks like he will try and get a few repairs. So we'll see if he can get that car into some semblance of shape. Thunhorst also coming down pit lane one more time. Wonder, yeah, I think this is to put himself maybe at the back. Well, he was on the lead lap.
And we're being told that Purnell won't be returning to the track. Apparently he has too much damage and he is done.
Sad to see him go. So that will mean Warling now up to 20th. 5 more positions to gain.
It's possible.
The pace car is in and dances away. Green flag once again. Looks a little bit more calm on this restart, though. Skurlock just behind him in second place. Just staying in line. In fact, a lot of drivers are staying in line this time. The first battle we got side by side is between Schmeier and Fassapani back in 11th and 12th.
Yeah, but I'm still surprised how many drivers are still going to the bottom on these restarts. And they're all getting loose and they're all having to check out of it. So we've had enough wrecks now that they should know by now that that's not the place you want to be.
We have to remind our audience that not everybody in this group is an expert at oval racing. This is a wide variety of drivers competing here. So some of them might not have picked up on it as quickly as some of the others. Currently, Dance is still your leader. Skurlock holding it within 2/10, but it's a battle for third behind them. Dean Mole with Lionel Callisto to his inside.
And Callisto's made good progress. He's up to 4th from 16th and really made up for what happened in the Xfinity race to him.
Clearly feels a lot more comfortable here in these Indy cars, having worked himself up from 16th on the grid, just outside the bubble. Right now, that's being held by Clement still. He's ahead of Thunhorst, who put himself down to the back. So Thunhorst was hoping to avoid any craziness with more cautions. It hasn't quite worked out in his favor, although he's catching up to Clement right now. And also Swaby, who has been going very slow ever since the last restart. He checked up Clement, and the teammate is going to be gobbled up by the other Alliance driver. Thunhorst now moves himself into the advancing group. Meanwhile, 11th place has been very hotly contested as they went 3 wide. That's Kurt Crum up at the front of this group in the blue and white. Kevin Hill down low with Wayne Hutchison in the white machine.
We see again now people still trying to get the bottom of the track to work, and it still doesn't look really stable down there, but maybe with the tires up a little bit, there's a little bit more grip than there was before, as it sounds like somebody's had a mistake.
Looks like Swaby. Oh, and he is hard into the wall.
I think
Looks
he's
like,
actually stuck in it as well.
Yeah, I think you're right. This goes right back to what you were saying. He took the bottom line in 3 and 4, and watch it just, it snaps away from him quickly. In fact, I think he touched the apron there.
Yeah, it definitely looked like he got the left sides down on the apron, and Swaby was struggling. He'd been going backwards since the restart, as we'd mentioned, but it just didn't look like he ever really got it together. And yeah, definitely down on the apron as that goes around. And now I believe we're down to 15 on the lead lap.
We are indeed. Kevin Hill, the first, a lap down, so that's going to be tough for him to get back into the top 15 unless someone else has issues. This bumps Warling up to what will be 18th, possibly. Swaby's still in his pit stall, and he hasn't taken his free repair yet.
He hasn't, but he'll have a toe similar to Walling's, I think. So they'll probably actually come out around about the same.
He's now 3 laps down, so he's on the same lap as Warling. And Warling jumps up to 18th position. 3 more for Travis to try and sneak through. We're making a big deal out of Travis, but again, he started on the pole here and is one of the 3 champions. Only 2 of them, of course, racing in today's race. The next one is sitting right next to me.
Yep.
He doesn't like the spotlight, unfortunately.
Well, yeah, I had a couple of other things that there was other things that require my attention today, and that's really not a talk down on this. I really love this league. I have a lot of fun with it. It was just a case of conflicting things today.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I wasn't trying to draw attention to that necessarily, just to point out that of the 3 champions that we've got in this series, who the 3 were. But Christian hailing from the European region, of course. And we've had this mentioned a little bit earlier in the background. We didn't really get to get to it, although we've already talked about it a lot. Is Amjad Yaman, our director, covers the Lionheart series, which is the IR18, at least on the IndyCar series that we cover for them. And apparently in those races, they see the exact same thing where drivers keep trying to make that low line work, and it just does not want to.
I think he actually brought up the biggest piece of information that I think we could have given anybody before this race started, and that is that at Iowa, the high line is king.
Absolutely. So we're going to get the lights off this time by... Nope, looks like they're still staying on. We're going to get a restart then probably around lap 34. But we're down to 5 minutes left. So if anybody was hoping to get in the top 15, they really got a boogie now.
And the other thing on the top 15 is that now it is only 15 on the lead lap. So realistically, everybody who's in the top 15, they are going to be at a bit of a disadvantage when they go across to the rallycross segment in terms of heats and the starting position and so on. But they do not need to advance their position. If they hold station, they will advance.
And the last of them is Face right now. He just came in to take tires and put himself at the back. So he's probably thinking exactly what you're thinking, that really it'd be silly for him to try and get into the middle of a group. He's starting from the back. He's going to give himself some clear ground. As long as he doesn't go a lap down in about 4 minutes or so, then he's safe.
Yeah, that's the biggest thing. If you can just stay on the lead lap, which, to be honest, I don't think it's too hard a thing to do. And I think we're seeing that actually with Thunhorst and Clement. They're both hanging around at the back of the line, and I kind of think they're doing it by choice.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure at this point that they just want to stay out of trouble. And Thunhorst also going to come in, get himself to the back of the field here. I do believe the lights are now off on the pace car. So yes, we will get restarted on 34. And we double check to see on our timing left to go. Seeing 6 minutes, 55 seconds left to go on my clock here. And this one should be accurate because I'm going by what was on iRacing in the Spectator. So pace car is in and Cameron Dance is off. Another good jump from him. Skurlock following behind. Dean Mole up to third. Don't forget about Lionel Kalisto with the climb that he's been making. We got a little bit of side-by-side battling between Dwayne Burns and Putcles down in the 6th position. Looks like Burns going to come out on top.
Yeah, it looked like Aldis realized there wasn't anything down there, and now he's under threat himself.
And in fact, yeah, you're right. That's Jeff Schmeier. Oh, but he tried that low line. He's going to drift it a little bit higher, but still they're ducking down about mid-corner, and that actually compromises Udlis a little bit. Jeff Schmeier goes through into 7th.
Yeah, and I'm still shocked that people are doing it, including Cam Dance as a leader. Actually, is still ducking down to the bottom, and I think if it was me, I would just run the top of the track and kind of be done with it. You know, like you're gonna advance, you don't need to risk it.
Yeah, you can see our leader Dance currently about a second ahead of Skurlock right now. He's running a little bit higher line in 3 and 4, though. It's just 1 and 2 that he seems to really like to duck it down all the way to the bottom. Now he rides up a little bit of a lane. Looks like Mole's lost out to Kalisto, though. Might come back at him as he's trying the outside. Kalisto all the way down to the yellow line and coming right back down with the over-under. Mole gets back into 3rd place.
Yeah, it looked like going down to the bottom Kalisto was able to make it happen in terms of the actual track position, but he had so little speed on exit that Mole was just able to pass him right back.
They're being joined as well by Daltonac in 5th position. Their slot single file as they come through 1 and 2 once again. Way up on the high line, Dean Mole starting to figure things out. Kalisto riding about a lane below him. Now it switches around as Mole goes low and Kalisto goes high.
We got Daltonac still just kind of observing right now. And we might actually get the lap count here. There's 4 minutes and 30 to go, and looks like we've got about 9 laps to go when they come to the flag this time.
Yeah, it looks like they'll sneak it in unless they get another caution. It's been good so far. Our leader still Cameron Dance, hovering at that 1 second ahead of Skurlock. They are catching lap traffic. Fasipani is going a lap down, but he has not been caught by Hill, who is in 16th. At this point, Adam will still advance.
Kalisto with a big moment off of 4 there, still trying to make something happen.
And he's riding low down through 1 and 2, risking that bump. Doesn't quite carry the speed. Daltonac's going to take the 4th place away from him because of that.
Yeah, that's the thing. He's trying to make something work on Mole, and looks like we got a kinetic car up at the wall.
That was Swaby. He's 4 laps down. I think he's just trying to stay out of people's way. Yeah, he's getting down to the apron, so that is not a drama. And he's going to be able to get out of the way without causing a caution here.
Yeah, the real question is, can Hill catch Fasipani for that last transfer spot?
It's about 5 seconds between them right now, which is, with the pace that they're going, about a third of a lap. So right now, I think Adam's still good because he's only 5 laps to go. And we don't have a green-white checkers here. So if we get a caution from here on out, that is the end of the race. Back Dance now taking it with 4 to go.
It actually looks like Skurlock's not necessarily threatening Dance, but is not really letting him get away. He's about 1.1 seconds behind right now.
He does have Dean Mole starting to close up on him. The 3rd place driver has got it to within 0.6 of a second on Skurlock.
Yeah, and he's got Daltonac behind him, and Daltonac's looking really strong. It looks like he might actually threaten Mole for that 3rd place before the race is out.
To risk it, is that worth getting that track position in the Rallycross race? We're down to 2 laps to go. Cameron Dance, ever since he inherited the lead on lap 1 with a wreck from Warling, has just been dominant out here. So the number 27 now sees the white flag wave. 1 more lap to go, and he'll get the pole and the Rallycross round.
I think that's a big advantage to Cameron Dance here.
Certainly will be through 3 and 4. Cameron Dance couldn't take the win at Road America, but he will here at Iowa for the 2nd race of the night for the charity finale. Skurlock takes 2nd. Dean Mole with 3rd, just ahead of Daltonac, who was challenging. Lionel Kalisto 5th. Who is our 15th finisher? Looks like it is going to be Fasipani. And Warling, despite sticking with it, was 3 positions shy. He will not advance.
I think that's got to be the biggest shock of this round.
And the tone was set with that very first lap as Dance does a few donuts. So that's going to really put him at a really good position once we get to the Rallycross course here in a few moments. Let's go through our finishing order, though, for this race. Cameron Dance, your winner, with Skurlock going from 6th to 2nd. Dean Mole rounding out your podium. How about Daltonac? He started from 17th and he finished in 4th. Kalisto as well, looking very good in the IndyCar, taking a 5th place. Dwayne Burns with 6th. Jeff Schmeier, 20th to 7th for him. Brian Barnes with an 8th place. He'll manage to get through Udlis Putklis with 9th, and Kurt Crum rounding out your top 10.
Then we have Wayne Hutchinson, another guy who had a quiet run. He came from 19th to finish 11th. Daniel Stevens went the opposite way a little bit, went from 5th to 12th, but still advances. And then we saw Trevor Clement and Matthew Thunhorse, both of those Alliance drivers, electing to roll around at the back there. Came home 13th and 14th. Adam Fassiponti, first guy off the lead lap, but the last guy to go through, and comes to home 15th. And now onto the guys who will be going home. Kevin Hill 16th, Ross Banfield is 17th, Travis Walling, the big shock of the round, going out in 18th, Lyndon Swaby in 19th, Thomas Peterson in 20th.
Chris Brunell was 21st to DNF, John King as well, 22nd, and Josh Wolf 23rd. Drivers having some big problems multiple times. We're going to take a short break. We'll come back hopefully with another interview before we get to the finale here at Iowa at the Rallycross course. So stick around. Welcome back to Iowa Speedway. You might notice that it looks a little bit different from what we saw just a moment ago. We've switched over tonight, and now, of course, we've got the rally course track set up. This is going to be the third round that we are running of 3 races. This will decide it all. 15 have come in, but when we get to the final of these heat races, there's only going to be 8 competing to try to take the overall victory. Let's give you a few stats on how this race itself is going to look. Of course, we've got the Global Rallycross cars that we were talking about a little bit earlier, the Ford, the Volkswagen, and the Subaru, and it is fixed setup once again. Now, there are 2 heats that they are split into by qualifying, which, apologies, we were incorrect on that before. There's 1 consolation race, and then there is the finale, where only 8 drivers will be allowed to compete for that one. The drivers will, of course, have to complete 1 joker lap in these heats. There'll be 7 laps and 1 joker, and 4 of each will advance to the feature. 15 come in, and then 1 is your winner in the end. They're currently finishing up that qualifying. Just about a minute and 10 seconds left to go on that. This will be interesting now that it doesn't mean an automatic pole, Christian, for Cameron Dance, of course. He still has to work for that pole, and I'm actually looking to see where he is right now, and he hasn't set a time yet. He's just coming around now to try and get his laps in.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting factor. I assume it's a way of how the heat system works, and we've seen this a couple of times with other races within the major series where perhaps in-week qualifying didn't then translate through to the race qualifying. Now, I think that makes a lot more sense as to why drivers in the Indy race were hanging out in the back, because they knew there'd be a qualifying anyway. And also with Rallycross, it's not quite the same as having the pole, because you have that staggered start system where you have a lot of cars side by side, and the advantage of the pole is much less than it would be at, say, a normal race.
Dance is just finishing up his second time. His first lap was good enough for 4th place. It looks like his second one was not quicker, so Dance will not be on the pole. They do get 3 laps, but he's ran out of time. So let's go to the grid for our first heat. It is going to be Michael Skurlock, followed by Kurt Krum. Trevor Clement will be starting 3rd, Dwayne Burns in 4th, and Lionel Kalisto 5th. Jeff Schmeier starting P6, and Wayne Hutchison in 7th position. Apologies for a lack of graphics. We had a little bit of a technical hiccup in the background, but we will always try and keep you up to date on things as they go and tell you who is winning currently out there and what the biggest stories are during these heat races. They're already starting to grid up right now. We're waiting for the last of them to find their way out there.
It's a very interesting starting line for this as well. It's quite a narrow one by Rallycross standards.
Skurlock's out there. Looks like we've got all of them up. Engines start to rev. Oh, I saw a few jump starts back there. Green flag is out. Skurlock with a good run down into the first corner. He's got a clear track. Nobody able to get to the inside of him. We already got a spinner, the number 19, it looks like. Unfortunately, finding themselves sent back. That's Dwayne Burns.
Yeah, now 4 will advance, and remember we've got that joker lap, and that's very, very powerful at this track. It cuts a huge amount away, so we'll have to wait until everybody's taken that to have a true picture of where everybody is.
And the big mistake from Skurlock there through the S's as they come back onto the oval portion. He did not lose the lead. Still in 2nd place, it's Clement, followed by Krum and Lionel Kalisto with a big slide. Jeff Schmeier trying to follow him.
Yeah, this track's quite a unique one, and there's a lot of these super tight corners. Oh, someone's had a major off at the end of the oval section.
Meanwhile, Skurlock still your leader. Clement following him around as they get back onto the dirt portion. Kurt Krum also looking very strong, and he is going to follow Trevor Clement through the joker lap. So those two have finished their jokers. They are going to take the temporary lead. If they feel that they are faster, of course, than Skurlock, then this could be very advantageous to them.
Yeah, we see it spread out a little bit behind. We've got Jeff Schmeier's in 4th, currently the last of that transfer spot. Wayne Hutchinson's a little bit far back. I don't think he's going to be able to challenge him for that position. Looks
like Lionel Kalisto's already out of this race. I see him sent back. They are not able to get back in, so that is the day over for Lionel Kalisto.
I said that I thought that Jeff Schmeier was clear, but he made a bit of a mistake, and Wayne Hutchinson's right there now.
Remember, the top 4 will advance to the finale. They will have a consolation race for those drivers who are out. Skurlock didn't take his Joker lap, interestingly. Clement and Crum still the only 2 who have finished theirs. We just got Dwayne Burns also coming through, taking his, but he is well down the order.
Yeah, I don't think he'll hang on to that position. He'll cycle himself up, I think, in the 4th, as we see that Schmeier's made a mistake and Hutchinson's managed to get around him. Well, not quite.
We've got to stay on the leaders, though, because very close between Crum and Clement. Skurlock still hasn't taken his lap. He has all 7 laps to try and set that, except for the first one. Boy, quite a battle here up at the top. A little bit of an over-under attempt from Crum. Back to the racing line goes Clement, and not able to overtake. Crum has to stay behind.
You know, both of them taking the Joker as well. There's no opportunity to pass that way. It's going to have to be a pass out on track.
And Skurlock... Oh, and Skurlock just got overtaken by Schmeier. He must have had problems. So Skurlock takes his Joker lap and cycles through, and he's not quite there. It's going to be Clement, who is our new leader.
But he has managed to slot himself into 2nd and ahead of Crum, though.
Ready to start lap 6 now. Clement with the advantage. Crum now back to 3rd as Skurlock finishes his Joker lap. Still need some of the drivers in the back to take theirs, but really the focus is on these top 3, almost nothing between them.
Yeah, and as we saw with the grid being quite tight, there is a little bit of an advantage by being the winner of the heat, and especially being the winner of the first heat, as we see a mistake from Clement, and both are around. Crum gets the lead.
Wow, great stuff from Crum. The number 8 basically stays out of the way, and he has a fully clear track to now take the victory, which is going to come in about a lap's time unless he himself makes a mistake. We are on lap 7. White flag is out.
I believe everybody has taken their Joker at this point, so the running order that we have is accurate.
Let's see, Kurt Crum working his way around. One thing I like that you can see that they've recently done here in the last build is they've replaced all those tire bales with very, very tall curbs to the inside, so a little less problems there for the field dealing with that. Crum now coming around the last little hairpin, up to the line, across the start finish, and over the jump. It is Kurt Crum, your winner in Heat 1. Skurlock manages to get 2nd, with Trevor Clement coming home the last of the podium, and it looks like it's going to be Wayne Hutchison, the last one to advance down there in 4th.
Yeah, it looked like there was a little bit of an incident that put Burns and Schmeier way back, and Hutchinson was able to avoid it and comes through and transfers to the final.
Again, Kalisto not able to finish, so that's your order. Crum, Skurlock, Clement, Hutchison advancing, Burns, Schmeier, Kalisto 5th, 6th, and 7th for that first heat. That takes us to the second heat as well. Apologies for the lack of picture for moment to moment here. We're still sorting some things out. Brian Barnes is your pole sitter for that. Cameron Dance is starting in 2nd. Again, not necessarily a pro driver on the rallycross side, but a dirt oval, still very skilled here. Matthew Thunhorst 3rd, Daniel Stevens 4th, Dean Mole 5th, Marco Dautanak 6th, and Fasapani 7th as the green flag comes out. Already the run down to the first corner, very crowded down to the inside. The 98 of Matthew Thunhorst almost managed to get to the inside. Brian Barnes instead takes 2nd place away from him, but up at the front it is Cameron Dance.
Yeah, a power move by Dance to take the lead right away, and it looks like Thunhorst has really struggled and fallen way back.
Ooh, and Brian Barnes clobbered over all of the curbs just about. Clearly taking a little bit too much to the inside. Dean Mole already looking for something on Thunhorst up at the front. It was, we got one of our takers for the Joker lap. That's Face. Currently Cameron Dance going to lead the first lap through. And he's got himself a gap of about 1 second over Brian Barnes.
looked like Face made a little bit of a mistake trying to take his Joker. He definitely didn't gain as much as he should have done by doing that.
Barnes also takes the Joker and now inherits the lead over Cameron Dance. So that gives him a lot of clear track in that number 4. Again, he put this on pole here in this heat, so clearly Barnes has the speed.
And Face has just had a bit of a moment, and he's gonna lose a bunch of time there. He had a sort of he looked like he tried to pull the handbrake and it just didn't quite work, and he went head on into the wall.
I believe we also had Dean Mole take his Joker, but he's a little bit slow and actually being overtaken by Daniel Stevens right now as we continue to see on screen the number 4, our leader, and make that Cameron Dance now as he takes his Joker lap. It didn't quite work out in favor of the number 4.
Yeah, and I know that there's a lot of love for the Subaru in the Rallycross community, but just doesn't look like it's working that well for Mole. It looks like he really can't get it rotated here, and Dance just got very close to taking himself out on the start line there.
Yeah, and Barnes almost managed to get through him. A little bit of a slide down through the S's from the number 6 now. Under attack. Look to the inside from the number 4. Getting those curbs once again, and that upsets the car.
Yeah, and Barnes is really the surprise performer for me in this heat. He's really hustling Dance, and it looks like he'll have an opportunity of actually taking this from him.
He's going to go wide around the outside, look for the over-under maybe, but much smoother through the hairpin from the number 6 of Cameron Dance. Once again, very shaky over the jump from the number 6. We're on lap 5 now. The laps are ticking away, and the chances are slipping through the fingers of the number 4.
Yeah, it just doesn't look like that VW is as good over the jump as the Ford there, especially on the landing. But at the same time, these two are well clear of 3rd place. They've got a 5-second lead, so they will advance, and they need to be careful. We've seen in the previous heat that there's a high chance of spinning each other out and losing a lot of time.
Yeah, don't count Stevens out, because he could do exactly what we saw with Crum and sneak by both the leaders. Meanwhile, Cameron Dance just seems this is his weak point here, over the jump. He's not used to the car flying around in dirt.
Yeah, it looks like and he struggles all the way through 1 and 2. It just doesn't look like he can get the car turned, especially as well as Barnes.
And he took both curbs very heavily. He managed it well enough. Could have damaged the car. It certainly hasn't damaged Barnes too much yet. Both of them sending it around the hairpin onto the oval, but that's a bad exit from the number 4. Oh, but he's going to send it in anyways. He tries it deep. The 6 covers him off.
Yeah, with 1 lap to go, don't think there's any concern for any damage on the car, and it looks like Dance's, well, he's actually got it turned in really well. He landed pointing completely the opposite direction, but he got it switched back and actually pulls a bit of a gap there.
Oh, once again, heavy over the curbs.
Barnes has got a chance.
Not quite close enough, it looks like. This is the final lap. White flag is out. Your leader, Cameron Dance. 2nd place, Brian Barnes, as they come back onto the oval once more. And Dance is well clear unless he makes a big mistake. This is his race to lose. Again, this will set the order for the finale. But the heat race number 2 goes to Cameron Dance. The Dirt Pro shows how it's done left and right.
Looks like we'll have Daniel Stevens and Dean Mole will be the last 2 guys transferring through.
Oh, no, I see Matthew Thunderhorst. Thunderhorst slipped into 3rd when we weren't looking. Stevens 4th, last one through. Mole falls all the way to 5th. He doesn't make it. Daltonac in 6th, and Fasapani, unfortunately, was a DNF.
Yeah, it looks like something must have happened on that last lap because the entire bottom end of the order just switched around.
I think he took his Joker very late, and that worked out well for him. That sets our grid here for the finale. It is going to be Dwayne Burns. Or no, this is the consolation, rather. Dwayne Burns starting on the pole of the consolation race. Marco Daltonac 2nd, Jeff Schmeier 3rd, and Dean Mole 4th. Lionel Callisto starts 5th, and Fasapani P6. This is a bit of a longer race. 8 laps, 1 Joker still. Lights are up, engines start to rev. Green flag is out as they get on their way down into the first corner. The 19 looking deep into that turn, but he gets turned. And so does the 62. It is a mess up at the front of the field.
Everybody's around.
Oh my goodness, who's the one that comes out with it? It's going to be Lionel Callisto. From pretty much 2nd to last, and he almost goes off course in the process. Dean Mole follows him for second place. Mole's going to decide to take the Joker lap this time through. That'll give him the lead.
Yeah, and this is important because what we didn't know until now is that actually 2 from this race go through to the final. So the 2 guys there, Kalisto and Mole, who managed to not get spun out when it seemed like everybody else did, have now got a huge advantage of actually getting through to the final.
So Dean Mole carries on, riding along well ahead of, is that Dwayne Burns going to be the next one through? We're trying to get our time and scoring updated here. Burns actually clips the wall a little bit. It's like Kalisto the second one through. Kalisto now takes, Kalisto with the Joker lap. Is this going to put him ahead of Mole? It does!
We've had some contact further back. Burns has been spun around and we've got a car park going on in the middle of the track. And it's all gone wrong for a lot of these guys in the mid-pack.
What a disaster of a start for so many of them. As Kalisto, your current leader. Dean Mole follows him across in second. Waiting to see who our car in third is. Looks like Mirko Daltonak is going to be the next one in the 62.
I believe that Faces, he might have parked. He's scored as a lap down right now, so I think his chances are gone completely.
Deschmeyer cycles into fourth. Right now, advantage very much Kalisto out there as we start lap 4. In fact, his gap over Dean Mole is a whopping 4 seconds. So he is looking incredibly safe as long as he keeps the car pointed forward.
Yeah, and that's got to be the thing for both Kalisto and Mole. They're so far ahead because they managed to squeeze through that incident at the start that seemingly had absolutely everybody in it. That now there's no point in trying to push the issue. You're not going to get any more than you've got, and you're going to get through and you're going to start the final.
And you see Kalisto on screen in the number 2. Takes it across to start lap 6 now. Lap 5 rather, excuse me. Daltonak has got to be extremely disappointed knowing he's this far back and is so close to making it into the final round.
Yeah, and this is a slightly longer race. It's 8 laps instead of 7 that we saw for the heats, but realistically there's not enough time to close that gap down. It's 10 seconds. I just don't see how he's going to do it without a mistake from either Kalisto or Mole.
Sometimes things just fall in your favor. For Lionel Kalisto certainly did today. As we watch the number 62 of Daltonak coming around off of the oval. Such a unique rallycross course in that sense, with the steep banking chucking you down there. And is this for position between himself and Burns? It is. This is to decide the podium.
Yeah, 19. Looks like Burns has been a little better the past couple of laps.
About to get the white flag as these two battle it out. Oh, and Kalisto made a little bit of a mistake. Kalisto got a little sideways. This allows Dean Mole to start to catch him. So the number 2, not error-free in this one. As Mole now sees him a little bit closer, probably urged on by that. You can see the battle still happening farther down for that 3rd position.
They're struggling to make any inroads, though. They're just kind of having their own fight here. This is more for pride than anything else at this point.
It really is. Lionel Kalisto up around the final corner. Down and around off the jump. The number 2 wins the consolation race and ensures his entry into the finale. Dean Mole follows him through, the last driver to squeak through. Oh, excuse me, we got one more lap. It's 8, not 7.
Yeah, for whatever reason, the consolation is 8 laps instead of 7, just to confuse us, I think.
Yes, it's got so used to those. So we continue to watch this fight. Burns still behind Daltonak, can't manage to find a way through no matter what he does. Time to go to the leader, this time for sure. It is the checkered flag coming through for the number 2, and he will still cycle through to the finale, winning the consolation race, followed by Dean Mole.
looks like this battle is still ongoing for this third spot, but it looks like Doubternec's gonna just hold off Dwayne Burns for it. Although Burns with a bit of a run, almost lands on top of him, doesn't quite get the position.
Schmeier, the last one to finish, down in 5th place with Face coming home with a DNF here. And the last of the last ones, I guess you could say, there for Fasapani. So we should get a little bit of a warm-up before we go to the feature, about 3 minutes of that. We'll give you that grid in a little bit. Some fascinating things that we saw out there from the first time that we've actually had Rallycross in the majors here, Christian. It hasn't showed up on any of the official season quite yet, even though we've done Rallycross cars on, I believe it was at Brands Hatch earlier.
Yeah, and I think it definitely threw people for a loop, especially on the starts, and we saw a couple of guys struggling actually with the Joker as well. I think it was Mole in one of the heats had a bit of an incident there and clipped the wall and really slowed himself down. But again, we had some surprises and a couple of shocks. I think Brian Barnes really was surprising to me. He was way, way, way stronger than I was expecting, and he's booked himself a place in the final because of it.
Absolutely. So it wasn't 8 cars, it's 10 of them that are competing for the overall. As we see them now out on track, taking a few practice laps here in the warm-up. Let's go through our grid since it is so so quick at the starts. It's going to be Kurt Krum in first with Cameron Dance in second for this one. Michael Skurlock managed to put himself into third. Brian Barnes, as you said, a bit of the dark horse that surprised everyone, starting P4. And then 5th, Christian, is going to be Trevor Clement.
And then we've got Matthew Thunhorse, he's going to be in 6th. Wayne Hutchinson, another surprise contender in this race, he's going to be starting 7th. Daniel Stevenson, 8th. And then we've got Lionel Callisto and Dean Mole, the guys who made it through from the consolation race, starting 9th and 10th.
Just about a minute and a half left here in the practice. As you can see, the track has worn in quite a bit. I do believe they do not refresh it, so you can see the racing line has dried up. You can see how much it's worn out there on the Rallycross track. I've called a number of these oval races on the dirt so far, but this is my first time calling one of the Rallycross races on the dirt. Is it pretty similar in the way that the line kind of gets worn in?
Well, I'm actually told by a couple of guys who race in the Pro Series that, if anything, it's a little bit to the opposite, whereas normally we see the track slicks up a lot and the lap times go away on the dirt oval side of things. They tell me that actually when it comes to these Rallycross cars, that they find the track just gets faster and faster as the race kind of goes on.
So we'll watch to see if anybody uses that to good effect. It's 12 laps this time. I'm going to count correctly this time before calling the win. And so they'll have even more that they'll be putting some rubber down and peeling the wet dirt away out here. You can see everybody still working and practicing to try and get a feel for things. The other thing, too, is that it does go onto the pavement. Is there a lot that the tires go away on the pavement, or have you not had enough chance to really kind of feel out to see what the evolution is like?
I myself haven't really had enough to say confidently exactly how it feels, but what I can say is that just looking at the track, we can see in the hairpins, especially going on and off of the oval, there is a very distinct black rubber line down there now.
So that could maybe give it a little bit of grip on that line as everybody now starts to grid up, waiting for them to work their way out. 10 drivers and this Champions Charity Finale to get bragging rights all winter long. Going to be 12 laps with one joker that we try and sort this one out. Could we see Cameron Dance, the only champion left running here in this race, potentially try to win overall? He's going to be starting from second. Could Krum maybe deny him on that? Engines start to rev. Green flag is out. Down into the first corner. Is it going to be chaos yet again, or are they going to be able to get through cleanly the 350? Looking to the inside. And it looks like, oh no, he gets tipped around. That's Skurlock, who finds himself facing the wrong way before he even reaches the jump. We got a car on its lid. Up at the front, though, Kurt Krum is starting to stretch away from Cameron Dance.
Yeah, and it looked like what happened there was Skurlock was really aggressive, and Brian Barnes looked like he wanted to make some moves as well, and the two of them just got together, and you see Clement just having a mistake in the Joker and losing all of his track position as well.
Yeah, that puts Daniel Stevens into third, Dean Mole into fourth as they come across the line for the first time. This gives Kurt Krumm a little bit of breathing room here at the start, but can he keep the pace? A bunch of the drivers did go through on the Joker that first time, including our top three.
Yeah, it looks like a lot of guys just want to kind of be out of the melee, so to speak, and they were all taking the Joker early on, and that's going to neutralize it to an outright race, especially between both Krumm and Dance here.
Sounds like, unfortunately, we lost the number 98, Matthew Thunhorst. He's out of the race already. Krumm, as he crosses the line, he's being caught a little bit by Cameron Dance now. That gap last time through about 0.6 of a second.
Yeah, and Dance looked like he got the car rotated way better than Krumm through 1 and 2 there, and consequently he's closed up and he's going up the inside.
Gets into him, little bit of wheel banging. They're side by side coming up to the hairpin. Dance goes way deep into the corner and almost glances the outside wall, so the lead stays with Krumm.
Yeah, that was very close. He was really lucky not to clip that wall.
Lionel Kalisto's now taking his Joker as well. That should move him a little bit up the order. After Dance getting a shot and potential look at the lead, he's now fallen back and regrouped. These two have dropped Daniel Stevens by a wide margin. In fact, Stevens just had a big mistake. He might lose position to Dean Mole. They're being joined by Lionel Kalisto in a three-way battle to sort out the final step on the podium.
And as we saw, the start made a huge difference to everybody's chances. Obviously, we saw the 350 of Skurlock. It looked like he was going to have the lead, and then him and Barnes got together, and both of them are way in the pack now, 17 seconds off the lead.
Not even halfway through this race yet, so still quite a bit to go. Dance now starting to fall away, 1.5 seconds back from Krumm and losing ground. I think we got the last of our drivers in the pits, or not in the pits, through the Joker, I should say. You can see the top two staying relatively spread apart. Really, the closest battle is behind them for third between Stevens, Mole, and Kalisto. They're still nose to tail.
Yeah, I'm just watching the difference between both Krumm and Dance, and Krumm looks like he's being very, very precise with the car. It never looks out of control, really. It always looks really neat and tidy, and Dance looks like he's really throwing it around. There's a lot more smoke coming off his tires, especially on the oval hairpins, and he just looks like he's really hanging it out, but Krumm's neat and tidy style is making it happen for him at the minute.
And you'd think with a name like Kurt Krumm that we're looking at a Scandinavian running away with things, but he's actually hailing from Club Atlantic, so an American is leading the way currently over a dirt pro, Cameron Dance, who continues to fall away bit by bit. Last time through was 2.3 seconds as they take the jump. This time it looks like it is going to be cycled up to 2.4 seconds, so Cameron Dance just with no response and only about 5 laps to go.
Yeah, it might only be 1/10 of a second, but these races are short. It's only 12 laps in total. We're on lap 7 and 2.4 seconds. It's going to take a mistake from Krumm because I don't think Dance is going to catch him on raw pace.
That three-car battle that I mentioned before is becoming a 4-car battle a little bit for third place. Stevens, Mole, and Kalisto have been joined by Clement now.
Yeah, it looks like in the pack, everybody's now taking their Joker, I believe, so it's an out-and-out race there as well, but it's really, in this event, it's only the top spot that matters.
Kalisto managed to get by Clement. Actually, no, Clement was behind him before. Clement now actually looking to the inside, and he is going to get it away from the former champion Kalisto. Up at the front, we still watch Kurt Krumm ahead of Cameron Dance. Dance actually gained a little bit of time that time.
Yeah, it looked like he closed it down to 10, so it was kind of a zero-sum over the past 2 laps between the two of them, but Dance needs to close the gap down really, really quickly. He can't, and he actually just drops another half a second there to Krumm.
Big response there. Now we got the last of the Jokers. Seems like Brian Barnes was the only one that we were missing. So they're all through with that. Kurt Krum, like you said, just amazing to watch that number 8. He is oh so smooth around here. Managed to survive through Road America, advance on through Iowa, managed to get through the heats to where it looks like this is his strength. If there's one driver I think looking for a rallycross round to be added to the season on the majors, I would say it is this man right here.
Yeah, I think in the end of season survey, if there's anyone that wants a rallycross round, and if there's only one person, I think I know who it is.
Kurt Krum back onto the banking of the oval. He'll be starting lap 11 here, so not much more to go. He's really pushing the limits of this track, though. Glances the wall on the entry into the final hairpin.
Yeah, it looks like he's kind of setting himself his own goals right now. He keeps trying to better his previous lap, and even with that slight tap of the wall there, he still actually pulled Dance a 1/10 of a second.
Obviously not willing to rest on his laurels. Comes through the infield back onto the oval portion. We had a change for position. Dean Moll got by Trevor Clement, it looks like. Down and through, up towards the jump. The white flag waves for Kurt Krum. One more lap to win the charity finale here for the majors in 2019. This will give Cameron Dance something to think about over the offseason for sure.
I think coming into this event after Iowa, Cam Dance was definitely the favorite, but Kurt Krum's really been the standout.
He has schooled everybody on how to run these rallycross courses. The number 8, oh, his Dance had a spin. We'll get back to that later. Number 8 takes victory here today with a win overall, not just in the finale. As the fireworks start to go off, Cameron Dance is going to manage to come home in second position as Daniel Stevens was too far behind to take advantage.
A real masterclass by Krum there. Got himself through the first corner, and from that point onwards, he was just never headed.
Roll over Callisto. We're going to take a quick break here. However, we'll come back with the unofficial results as well as driver interviews. Stick around as we close things out for 2019 in the majors. to Iowa Speedway. The last and final race of 3 and the Champions Charity Finale was won by Kurt Krumm in the end. He takes it all with Cameron Dance finishing in second behind him. Daniel Stevens winds up in third position with Dean Moll finishing fourth. Not too bad considering he started this in 10th and was a provisional who snuck his way in on the consolation race. And then fifth, Christian wound up with Trevor Clement there.
Yeah, and then we have Brian Barnes. I spoke about him and how good his performance was getting into here. He had a little issue on the start, and that really ruined his final there, and he comes home 6th. Wayne Hutchinson is 7th. Lionel Kalisto involved in that incident as well at the beginning, comes home 8th. Michael Skurlock in 9th. Matthew Funhorst in 10th.
We've got our winner ready to talk to us, Kurt Krumm, going to tell us about his experience in these 3 races. Let's start with the last one. Kurt, how much experience have you had with Rallycross? Because you looked smooth as ice out there.
Well, I think a little bit more than average. I definitely was into it a lot when it first came out. I haven't raced it too much recently, but old habits die hard, I guess.
Well, it really came came in handy here today, of course, but ultimately it seemed like all you had to do was get to this final round to put yourself in this good position. What were your thoughts on racing both in the stock cars at Road America and the Indy cars at Iowa?
Yeah, I mean, survival was definitely kind of at the forefront there. At Road America, I thought I had a chance at sniffing into the top 5, maybe. Had an early incident that kind of threw that out, so that became survival. Iowa and the Indy car is nuts. There's not a whole lot more to say about than that.
Yeah, it was a little crazy for sure. We were joking during the broadcast, this final round, that of all people, you probably would be one asking for a Rallycross round in the Majors official season. Could you see yourself trying to get that added to the schedule?
Oh, yeah, I certainly wouldn't mind. I definitely have a lot of fun with it, and looks like it's not the most popular specialty among the Majors racers, so any extra points, can't argue.
Exactly. Before we let you go, it's a charity event, so who did you have promoting on your car in these 3 races?
Yeah, I'm supporting the Milan Repair Foundation. They're a charity primarily for multiple sclerosis research. It's autoimmune disorders in general are really on the rise. No one really knows why. MS is obviously one of the big ones, but I'm a big supporter of all that kind of research, and I think it's becoming more and more important as time goes on here.
It certainly seems like it is, and that's a worthy cause. Thank you for coming and talking to us. Congratulations, and go enjoy your bragging rights for a few more months.
Will do. Thanks, guys.
That was Kurt Krumm, winner overall here today. Second overall, wound up Cameron Dance. Christian is talking to him.
Cam, I thought that you were definitely going to be the favorite after the Iowa race when we saw Walling spin out right at the start there. And I mean, you did kind of transfer it through, and you were as strong as we expected with the sort of the partial dirt surface that we have here with the Rallycross, but just looked like Kurt Krumm was just a little bit better, and maybe his car choice was better than the VW.
Yeah, I'm not overly strong in the Rallycross sort of stuff. I'm not too bad, but it's not really my strong point, so it's, a little bit of a hard one for me sometimes, but otherwise it was pretty good to come away with second. I really wasn't sure what to expect in the Rallycross race with how little I've done it as of recently. So, can't complain too much.
Well, I mean, you did a great job, especially avoiding that incident at the start to come home second. I know obviously it's a little bit disappointing, especially when you had Kurt just kind of slowly pull away there in the race, but still, it's been a pretty good night for you. You had a good run all night. You were strong in all 3 races, really. And would you like to talk a little bit about who you had on your car tonight, with it being a charity race?
Yeah, so of the team I race for, Fitstone Motorsport, we've actually got a charity on the car anyway. Colorectal Fight Colorectal Cancer. So they've been really, really cool to have on the car. A teammate of mine had family member pass away a few years ago now to the disease, unfortunately, and as of recently. On about Thursday, my own father passed away from it, so it's been a bit of a hard week for me. But yeah, this kind of tops it off and really is quite special. I mean, to get second in that first race was pretty amazing. It was a very challenging combo. I was really not wanting to race the first race with how it was looking, but managed to get that, and then obviously quite strong in the IndyCar, won that, and then second in the Rallycross. So yeah, really good night overall.
Well, man, it sounds like you've had a really tough time recently, but I think you did yourself and everybody that you represent out here proud tonight. And I think realistically, second, everything considered, I think that's got to be a great result. And I hope to see you back next season. I haven't decided what region I'll race, but I had fun racing with you last season, and I hope that you'll be back in this in the following in 2020. Now, before we let you go, is there anybody else that you'd like to give a shout out?
Yeah, I'd just like to thank the boys at Texanay, Fitstyle Motorsport, all our supporters, obviously Fight Colorectal Cancer, Texanay Sensors, Renval Harnesses, you guys for putting on an awesome broadcast, and yeah, everybody for tuning up tonight and putting on some awesome racing.
Thank you, man. We'll let you go, and once again, great run tonight.
Cheers.
That was Cameron Dance, a second, a first, and a second in his races to show you how dominant he was. But we've got to close up, and we want to give a few thank yous to all the drivers and for the charities that they tried to help promote tonight, and also to Mike Willett for bringing us on for the coverage of this special event. Thank you to iRacing for putting us on IESN. Make sure and subscribe to the channel when you get the opportunity, but also thanks to the companies that provide the software and the hardware for our broadcast listed here on your screen. Additional thanks go to June Lalonde, who provides our wonderful music. See the screen for how to get a hold of more of her great work. And thanks to the team today, Christian, Amjad, and Dougie. If you'd like to find out more about GSRC, including upcoming races, you can find it at globalsimracingchannel.com. You can also check out our social media. Our Twitter is at GSR Channel, Facebook, Global Sim Racing Channel, and Instagram at GSRC_Graham. If you'd like to support the channel, make sure and check out our merchandise store. We've got a link below. But if you subscribe to our channel, you will be automatically entered into a free drawing for any item of your choice from that store. So make sure and subscribe if you aren't already. If you're already subscribed, then you're automatically entered. Next race for the majors is going to be the official season. That'll be Daytona. We'll be doing the IMSA cars for that. That'll be Sunday, January 12th at 7:45 p.m. Eastern. But we have upcoming races for other series listed on the screen, so check those out and mark them down on your calendar. Until next time, race clean, race hard. We'll see you on the track.